Hey guys, this is Jenn and Julien, and you're listening to X Appeal, Season 2, Episode 1.
Woo! Kicking off a brand new season. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, and we made a couple changes, right?
We did make a couple of changes, and those changes are we are now going every other week releasing a podcast.
Yeah.
And each podcast is going to be 30 minutes because we know that everybody's attention span is very limited. We're all goldfish now. So
Exactly.
when we're driving in our cars, we're not going to go back and finish listening to the episodes. We don't do that. We don't have the time for that. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. I agree. I know. I rarely do it unless it's like captivating, but usually I listen to a podcast.
Not captivating?
It's just like, no, but sometimes like I've been still watching the Joe Rogan podcast with Matthew McConaughey, and it has been a week. So I started it.
Oh, because he does like 6-hour long podcasts.
Yeah, they're like 2.5 hours. So I just like, I listen to it while I'm eating, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting, but I got to go. And then 2 days later, whenever I want to get back to it, I'm just not in the mood for a podcast. So then I eventually just give up.
I just started listening. Did I tell you that I just started listening to this nighttime podcast?
Okay. To fall asleep?
Yep. It's called Get Sleepy. And it's basically, it is in a very low, semi-seductive British accent.
Yeah.
These men and women will read you adult lullabies, essentially.
Wow.
And they talk about, I don't know, they talk about like, spring at the at the country cottage. And they talk about literally like there's one podcast where this
boring that you fall asleep.
She was cleaning her cottage and she like with a broom, and they described like how the dust glimmered against the sunlight and how everything, the smell of the orchids or the whatever it is. Orchids don't have a smell, but you know what I'm saying? Like it just really got into like the sensory. I felt like I was listening to ASMR.
Yeah, I would rather listen to like waves, like the sound of the beach before.
I tried that. I tried doing like the white noise.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like to hear a story before I go to bed.
Really?
Although I do think it trickles into my dreams.
Oh, most likely.
I've had some fucked up dreams the last couple of weeks. It's probably what it is. Anyway. So season 2, I'm excited for it. We're going to have a lot more guests on. We're going to be just the two of us. The two of us just, going back and forth and
butting heads.
You being your traditional salty Frenchman.
Little bitterness. Yep.
Little bitter Frenchman. I told you that you have to open up a restaurant in WeHo called the Bitter Frenchman.
Yeah.
I would go to it.
The Bitter Frenchman. I was thinking of changing my TikTok handle for that, actually.
The Bitter Frenchman?
Yeah.
You should.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious.
Do it.
I think it's hilarious.
But how do you say Bitter Frenchman in French?
I don't know.
You're French. What do you say?
Le français. It's kind of like the pissed Frenchman, like le français énervé, something like that.
Le français levé. Levé.
Yeah.
Levé.
Énervé.
I feel like I'm gagging every time I try to put on a French accent. I don't know how you do it.
Then you're doing it wrong.
Of course. So today, I'm just going to tell you this. Like, I walked into the extra newsroom on, I think this was Monday.
Yeah.
Monday, thinking that J-Lo and Ben getting married would be like the number one headline of the day, like story of the week. Mm-hmm. But nope, there's only one thing that can trump Ben and J-Lo. Guess what that is?
I don't know.
Britney Spears is pregnant with her boyfriend, Sam Asghari.
Okay.
But listen, like immediately there became this debate, right? Like you were either in one camp or the other. You were either in the free Britneys who say, finally, it's like her body. It's good for her to have agency over herself. It's 5 months after her conservatorship ended, where she said that she was forced to wear an IUD and she was monitored constantly and like her life wasn't her own. Now she's getting married and she's having a baby. The other side of things seem to kind of say, oh my God, Britney Spears is pregnant. She's having another baby. This is an absolute disaster. What camp are you in, Julien?
I don't understand why people care.
You're in the why do we care camp?
Yeah. Like but you know me, I could not care less about celebrity gossip. So it's just like, okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's not gossip, it's fact. I mean, according to her, it seems to be that she's like a couple of months along. You know, I don't know. It's anybody who says that she's not fit to be a mom. First of all, she's already a mom. She has millions in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
She has the resources to care for her kid, or if she can't, hire somebody who can. We don't have a problem with like teenage pregnancies or women who are in prisons having babies. So why are we caring about what this like privileged uber rich woman does with her own life is my question. Why do we care so much?
Women in prison having babies?
Yeah.
Meaning they're in prison and then they deliver in prison?
Yeah. Well, you don't deliver in prison. You're sent to a hospital.
Yeah. And then they take the baby away from you?
They take the baby away from you. Yeah.
So that means she got pregnant right before being in jail?
Yeah. Oh. Or if you watch Orange is the New Black, you can get pregnant while you're in jail.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I haven't watched that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to have an opinion because again, like it's not something that I'm really passionate about or that I really care for. Like if she wants to have a baby, she has a baby. At the end of the day, it's her, the baby's going to be, I don't know. It's just like, I wish I had like, what's the question that we're asking? Are people just giving their point of view saying, well, she shouldn't because she's not stable mentally. And the other one's like, who cares? It's her body. It's her choice. If she wants to have a baby, she has a baby. I
mean, I think people see her, dancing around these weird videos on her.
She posts Instagram weird shit.
With the 3 peasant tops that she wears every day. Mm-hmm. And she's like, filming herself rolling around topless while her security team is probably just like rolling their eyes thinking, oh God, not again. Here we go. So I think you see those videos and you think, oh boy, that person's going to become a mother now and is going to be in charge of a whole life and taking care of a human being in that way and giving it her all, hopefully. And I think people are jumping to conclusions and they're probably talking a lot about they know how tough it is to take care of a baby and to raise a child and to bring a life in the world. So, is it like a good idea? But like, she's made it clear she wants another child. She was during her conservatorship, she was like making other people rich. I mean, she was performing every night at an extremely high level. Like she is equipped. Like she can do the job. I mean, I can think of a million other women who you'd think wouldn't be equipped and they somehow they got through it. I think people are kind of going back to this idea of possible mental illness being a factor there.
Bro, is she clinically diagnosed as mentally ill?
It's been known that she even testified during her conservatorship hearing that she was put on medication. I'm not sure, since that's like HIPAA stuff, what kind of disorder she might have. But yeah, I think it kind of like triggered this dialogue with people. Like, is it essentially not skirting around it? Is it okay for somebody who has mental illness to have a child?
I mean, it seems like it's okay. It seems like, from just what I'm gathering, it seems like people are fairly worried when it comes to a woman having mental illness, but nobody really cared about Kanye having a baby with Kim, and Kanye is clinically diagnosed as bipolar. So it's like,
yeah, that's a good point. Also, I mean, not for nothing, but she has Sam. I mean, she has, support. Like I said, it all comes down to support, because it really does. Like they say it for a reason. It takes a village to raise a child. It's an incredibly difficult process. And you need a lot of help.
So what do you think?
I think it's...
if you're mentally ill, should you have a children?
I don't think there should be any law against it.
Uh-huh.
But I do worry for it depends on what kind of position Britney Spears is a very unique case study. But, if you are a woman who's racked with mental illness, who struggles with it, doesn't want to get help for yourself, and doesn't have the kind of support system to raise a child, then yeah, I'd be worried. I'd be worried about it. Because what kind of environment is that kid going to grow up in?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm not a big advocate of somebody who's mentally ill and unstable having a kid. Generally speaking, I just don't think that it's a good idea. I'm not necessarily for it. I also feel like there's, like you said, what's their financial situation? Like if it's somebody who's crazy because they're doing meth, like that's not going to be a good fit for a mother. But generally speaking, like I know, for example, I have my somebody in my family whose mom, when they were younger, tried to like kill herself, and it's just like, I don't think she was a great mom, right? And I think like if you're trying to kill yourself, that means you have something mentally that you need to work on. And I don't think that she was suited then to be a good mother. But the problem is, where do you draw the line? What is mentally ill?
Problems though? Was she? Do you know? Was she getting therapy? Was she on medication?
I don't know. But that's the thing. Where do you draw the line? Is being depressed considered mentally ill? Is being bipolar being mental ill? Is being schizophrenic?
I think that's all in the same family. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, but you have half of the population is depressed. They're still raising kids.
Yeah.
And you don't see any issues with that.
Anxiety, depression, bipolar.
Yeah. So it's so hard to put a straight line on, okay, if you have this, no, if you have this, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it all depends on if you acknowledge that there is a problem and if you're getting help for it.
Yeah.
It's the moment where you're not acknowledging there's a problem, and you're bringing a life into the world. So you can't necessarily take care of yourself, or you're not willing to take care of yourself, but now you're supposed to be taking care of another person who's 100% dependent on you. I just don't know if that's a good idea.
Well, it comes back to where you're saying, having a partner, solid partner,
or a family.
But also, like, I'm trying to, like, that's going to sound rude, but like me, myself, it would be hard for me to see a partner as a suitable mother if I knew they were dealing with mental illness.
So if your partner had struggled with bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or depression or anxiety, you don't think that you would want to have a child with that person?
Well, some of them, anxiety, I think that's fine. But
because it's more mainstream.
I think it's a little bit more common. Depression, it depends how, like, my mom was with someone was at the end clinically depressed. She had to leave. They stayed together 5 years. She had to leave. It was just like draining.
Yeah.
And then they fall into drinking and they fall into all this stuff. And it's just like, so yeah, I think personally me, I would want to make sure that my partner is solid, before, like, mentally, before I even consider having a child with them. Now, there's always a probability that they develop something later on and that I was not aware of, like you might be totally saying something, and that's something you deal with. But and maybe that's just unfair to me, but I would want to make sure, like you said, that we're two solid people, Now, mid-pregnancy or after pregnancy, 2 years later, my partner becomes depressed for whatever reason, then I'm not going to leave. I'm obviously going to be here and be like, try to help it out. But if I know somebody's schizophrenic, that might scare me a little bit, so I might not be as comfortable.
This also kind of goes back to, or you could even broaden this out further, because I know that whenever I was pregnant, you go through like rounds and rounds of testing and rounds of questionnaires from people, and this is like genetics. This is the mental, this is the physical, family history of any kind of diseases, etc. and yeah, I mean, so okay, for example, if your partner had a history of cancer in their family,
Yeah.
or if your partner had a history of mental illness, or had a family history of all this,
So there's
then
one thing
you run the
before-
risk of passing that essentially
Yeah,
to your kids.
but yes and no, because there are a lot of these develop due to environment, and that's been proven. They've done experiments on twins, unfortunately, where and triplets, where they all had I think a schizophrenic mom, and then they separated the twins. I think it's called Three Identical Strangers, and it's fascinating. And they put the twins, the triplets, each of them was separated and were brought up in a different environment. One was a stable home, one was kind of a blah, blah. It was a crazy thing. I encourage you to watch it.
Even schizophrenia?
Huh?
Even schizophrenia you're talking about?
Yeah. There's something that was like the mom was fucked up, and environment tends to play a bigger role than actual genes. So you know how it's like people will say, okay, well, my family has a history of like whatever, colon cancer, right? But the thing is that family does the same thing as the previous generation. So they never, like, they live all the same. They eat the same food they grew up, because you grew up how your parents like raised you, and how their parents raised them, and they eat the same thing. They have the same habits. So the cancer develops the same. But if you break that, and for example, you all of a sudden, as a child, you move to a different country with, for example, different foods, different air, and you have different eating habit and maybe you work out and nobody in your family work out, your cancer, even if it's in your genes, might not develop, because there's a huge environmental factor that takes place when it comes to genetic, and they're finding that out right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to watch it. Three Identical Strangers.
Three Identical Strangers. It was great. It was in the movies too. It's a documentary. It's fantastic.
I'll have to watch that. I mean, I could even take it into an even more awkward question. Another big issue that came up, or not issue, but just question that came up, was, do you have a history of what would you say, mental disability? Mentally challenged, like Down syndrome.
Oh, sure.
In your family, and that is genetic.
Yeah.
And there are many tests that you can do. Some are invasive, some are not invasive, that determine whether your child is likely to have a disorder like that. A lifelong
Down syndrome. I don't really.
Down syndrome.
I don't care, because it's also known that Down syndrome kids are some of the most loving and amazing kids. The only thing I would be worried about is because I know their lifespan is a little shorter than ours, and I think that if you have, there's a chance that unfortunately your child dies before you.
Yeah.
Right, because it seems like they don't live as long. So I think that as a parent, that's the only thing that would scare me, is like, do I want to go through the trauma of losing my child? That would be it. But like, could you see yourself being with a partner, knowing and having a kid, knowing that they suffer from, like, for example, schizophrenia, or that they suffer from a severe mental disability that requires them to be on meds?
God, I hate even answering this question.
I said I wouldn't be comfortable. I would rather try to
be okay with it either.
I don't
think I'd be okay with it either.
That's bad, because we're like sounding like
I know, and I feel like we sound like we're just so heartless and callous, when we say that. But I know we're just being honest. And my thing is, you're bringing somebody into the world who's going to have a lifelong challenge ahead of them. And you know what that might mean at school. You know what that might mean in life. And it can be really cruel and really unfair. But on the other hand, there's a chance that it might not happen. And you're in love with that person.
Yeah.
So
Which is a good point. You just brought up a good point. Also, it's not guaranteed. I'm sure. So it's like
it's not guaranteed. There are tests that you can take before you become too advanced in your pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
To figure out whether you want essentially to have a child who might have some difficulties like that.
I mean, yeah, but if you're putting yourself in that, I would say don't put yourself in that position.
Nope. I never took the test. I never took those tests.
No, I'm saying don't put yourself in a position if you already know that you are with a partner that is suffering from something.
So
why would you go to the position of getting pregnant? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you already know, like, let's say, okay, you're a person you don't want to have one parent suffering from something, then why would you stay with them and possibly risk having a kid? So it's like, if you're staying with them, then you need to be somebody who says, okay, well, whatever happens. And, you, and also here's the thing with these topics, I am so uneducated when it comes to any type of mental illness. None. So I'm giving my opinion right now with not knowing literally a single thing about it and not knowing. All I know is what people say. So people say schizophrenia, it seems like you're crazy. That might not be the case. It might be treatable. There might be people that can actually do very well with it. Maybe I have no. That's
partially, but that's also part society's, they need to own that, because I don't think there's enough dialogue about it. I think that it's this undercover scary kind of thing where it's portrayed in like movies and TV, like you're going to be one person, then you're going to like see stuff, and you're going to act a certain way. You're going to have these hallucinations that can be extremely scary and frightening for other people.
Well, yeah, but again, that's what we're told, but I don't know if that's the case. So that's why, like,
that's not your fault though.
When you're bringing up the whole Britney story, my initial thing is like, I don't really care and I don't really know, because I think it's not, we're not in a place, you and I, if we're not educated, to make a comment on it, and we're also not in a place to actually say, well, I wouldn't want to do this, because the bottom line is we don't know. Like I'm saying, I'm not comfortable. Have a partner, but to be honest, I have no idea what this illness is. So it comes out of fear of me not knowing, but it's hard to have an opinion when you're not educated on something. So
and that's the internet. That's why there are plenty of people out there who have their own opinions about everything, and they know shit. They don't know anything. Yet they feel like their opinion's valid. And that's why like, from my perspective, why are other people commenting on what she wants to do with her life? And if she wants to have a baby, or if she doesn't want to have a baby, who cares at that point? Why do you feel like you are somehow invested in somebody else's life in that way? Yeah.
So I'm going to change my answer, because talking all this, I'm going to say, if like, would I be comfortable being with a partner that is dealing with mental illness? I would say I would want to do my research first. I would want to know what this illness is about, what is triggered by it. How do we deal with it? Is it something that is for life? Is it something that will go away? Is it something that, can be easily treatable or managed? Is it something that it gets passed down for sure? Am I in danger? Is the kid in danger? And then off of that, I will make my answer. But honestly, as of right now, without knowing any of this, I realized like I'm saying something out of fear, and I just don't know. I don't know.
What an evolved perspective.
Well, yeah, but
in 25 minutes.
We don't know. The truth is.
No, it is true. And a lot of these disorders are spectrum disorders. So it can range from the very mild, where it's barely detectable, to crippling. And you don't know until you do your research, and you don't know until you are willing to, from the perspective of somebody who might be a patient, willing to seek help and to seek treatment.
I will say that I do feel it's a little unfair that it's making the news that Britney being mentally unstable is having a kid. But again, when Kanye and Kim, I don't remember seeing anything. I was just saying, oh, they're having a kid, they're pregnant. I remember more seeing about Kim not wanting to carry the baby. I think they got a surrogate, if I remember correctly, or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe did she have a baby? I forgot. All this,
I don't know. Yeah, I actually don't know.
But and that didn't. Nobody seemed to really, or at least I didn't hear anything about his mental illness. And look at what's going on now. As much as I don't follow it, I keep seeing stuff on.
Do you think that's a little misogynistic?
Yeah. I think it's because people think of like, the mother still being the kind of like the mental stability. It's like a lot of people, it seems like you hear like they were raised right, they had a good mother, so therefore they're stable and they're good kids.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of good kids technically when the fathers are absent. If the mother was there and they were strong and good mothers, then they still make it out in the world. We don't hear as much as single dad that are doing everything and raising their kids right. So
you don't hear it. You really don't. Yeah, and it's interesting that the focus has been so heavily on Britney Spears' mental fitness, and maybe not necessarily Kanye's mental fitness to be a father.
Yeah, exactly.
How about that conversation?
I'm good on celebrity gossip, and
you've had your fill today.
You've had a fill for this season. Yeah.
Listen, Julien, I'm sorry to break it to you, but that's what makes headlines. That's what makes headlines. You have to jump into it.
You do. That's what
I do, but it's something that you have to be interested in.
Why? I don't care.
Because our audience is interested in it.
Are you sure?
Well, according to our analysis, they are.
Our detailed analysis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it or hate it, it's what drives the day. I'm sorry, but it does. Like you look on the New York Post, you look on Page 6, you look on Twitter, on Instagram, and you're going to see it. It's going to be in your face because people are obsessed with celebrities in this country. Yeah. I don't know why, but it writes my checks, so I'm not going to complain about it.
I don't follow any of these, so I don't know. I'm literally dark shadowed from all this in the shadow.
Well, let me ask you this. Who do you think stars in all those Marvel movies that you're obsessed over?
Well, celebrities, but I don't follow their gossip.
But
I haven't seen any headline about
without those celebrities, you wouldn't have a Thor. You wouldn't have a Miss Captain Marvel Universe. You wouldn't have Batman's beginnings.
It's not without celebrities. It's without actors. The actors, not celebrities.
Is Batman in the Marvel universe? No, he's not. He's in DC, right?
No, you should know. He's DC.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's a good button on the episode, right? I think we're done.
That you should know where Batman is if he's DC.
I think we're all done.
Anyways, I respect your engagement in the celebrity community. Just respect the fact that Julien.
And I respect your disrespect for it.
No, I respect it. I just don't care. It's not my thing. Not my thing.
Until next time.
But, yeah. Great. Cool. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. I feel like you and I should get in a boxing ring right now. I
think we should.
I kind of want to punch a little bit.
Yep. Mentally.
No, like physically. Have you put a headgear on and just like grab a little bit? Yeah. 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 All right. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Bye.
A Hurrdat Media Production.